Hi, kids, it's Mr. Robert. I wanted to read some more stories to you. Today, I'll be reading from Goodnight Stories for Rebel Girls. In each volume, there's two of them, you have 100 stories about very inspirational, amazing women. So I'll read a bunch to you, and I hope you enjoy them as much as my daughter does. The first one is about Beatrice Viau. She's a fencer. Once upon a time, there was a little Italian girl who was a formidable fencer. Her name was Beatrice, but everyone called her Bebe. While she was in middle school, Bebe became very ill. By the time her parents got her to the hospital, she was fighting for her life. She had contracted meningitis, a severe illness that attacks the brain and the spinal cord, and to save her, the doctors had to amputate her legs and her forearms. Bebe was in the hospital for more than 100 days. When she was recovering from surgery, she had one goal in mind: to go back to fencing. Nearly everyone told her it was impossible, but Bebe had a plan. First, she learned how to walk, shower, open windows, and brush her teeth. She even taught her classmates how to use her brand new artificial limbs. When she strapped her foil to her arm and started fencing again. As the only wheelchair fencer in the world without arms and legs, Bebe had to invent a technique that would work just for her. After a while, she was ready to try competing again. In a few years, and with the help of two of the most famous fencing teachers in Italy, she became a champion. She won the World Cup in Canada, the European Championships in Italy, the World Championship in Hungary, and the gold medal at the Paralympics in Rio de Janeiro. To be special, Bebe says, you need to turn your weakness into the thing you're most proud of. Wow, pretty cool. The next one that was picked for me to read is a story about a pirate, a real one. I'm going to butcher this name, but maybe you guys can look it up and figure out how to say it. Jacote de Leahy. She was from Haiti. Once upon a time in Haiti, there was a girl with hair as red as fire. Her name was Jaquette. Jaquette's mother died while giving birth to her little brother. Their father died not long after, and Jaquette had to find a way to provide for herself and her brother. So she decided to become a pirate. Jaquette led a gang of hundreds of pirates, and together, while at sea, they ate, smoked meat, played games, and pressed gunpowder into cannons, and robbed Spanish ships. She even had a secret island where she and her pirates lived. Jaquette had many enemies. Both the government and rival buccaneers were after her. In order to escape, she decided to fake her own death and go into hiding. She gave herself a new name and dressed as a man. But her deception didn't last long. No one else had such flaming red hair. She soon turned to piracy and earned the nickname Back from the Dead Red. Jaquette had a girlfriend who was a pirate too. Her name was Anne de Levout, and she was married and had 2 children. After her husband died during a fight, she took command of their ship and joined forces with Jaquette. They were 2 of the most feared pirates in the Caribbean. Their stories became legends that both female and male pirates told each other as they lay in their hammocks beneath the stars and rocked by the waves, dreaming of the adventure that awaited them at dawn. Wow. Next up is a story about Jill Tarter, an astronomer. See? Once there was a girl who wanted to become friends with the stars. Her name was Jill. How can we be alone in the universe when the sky is so big? She used to wonder. She couldn't stop thinking about it. So when she grew up, she decided to search the skies for extraterrestrial life. She became an astronomer and director of SETI, the most important center for scientific research into the possibility of life in outer space. For years, Jill and her team investigated hundreds of star systems using radio telescopes located around the world. Every night, she looked for signs of civilization on some distant planet. Nobody knew And even today, nobody knows what communication systems aliens might be using. The only thing we do know is that the universe is too big for us to be in its only inhabitants. Jill especially enjoyed her solitary walks at night under the starry sky. I'd walk to the control room to start my shift at midnight. Orion was right overhead, like an old friend, she recalls. None of her research so far has established any scientific proof for extraterrestrial life, but she hasn't lost hope. No one ever said there are no fish in the sea just because one glass of water came up empty, she says. Wow. Okay, let's find another one. Oh, here we go. This one is about Mary Combe. She's a boxer from India. Once upon a time in India, there was a little girl called Mary. Mary's family was very poor and struggled to put food on the table. Mary wanted to help her family live better, so she decided to become a boxer. And one day, she boldly walked up to the coach in a boxing gym. "You will train me." "Will you train me?" she asked. "You're too tiny," he said. "Go away." But when the coach finished for the day, he found her still waiting for him by the gate. "I want to do this. Put me in the ring," she said to him. Reluctantly, he took her on, and she started training hard. She started competing and won many fights. But she hadn't told her parents. She didn't want to worry them. One day, her dad read about her in a newspaper. "Is this you?" he asked, worried. "Yes," said Mary proudly. "What if you get hurt?" her mother asked. We don't have any money for doctors." "I will work hard and save as much as I can. Don't worry," Mary replied. She slept in hostels and ate vegetables and rice because she couldn't afford meat, skipped breakfast because she only had money for lunch and dinner, and she became a champion. Her parents watched her fights on TV, and Mary won medal after medal. She even won a medal at the Olympics. She made her village proud and was able to provide for her family, just like she had dreamed when she was a child. Wow. Next one. We have a story about Ruth Bader Ginsburg. She's a Supreme Court justice. Once upon a time, there was a girl who dreamed of becoming a great lawyer. "A lady lawyer?" people would mock her. "Don't be ridiculous. Lawyers and judges are always men." Ruth looked around her and saw that they were right. But there's no reason why that shouldn't change, she thought to herself. She applied to Harvard Law School and became one of the brightest students. Her husband, Marty, was also a student at Harvard. "Your wife should be home baking cookies and looking after the baby," people used to say. But Marty didn't listen. Ruth was a terrible cook, and besides, he loved taking care of their daughter and was proud of his brilliant wife. Ruth was passionate about women's rights and argued 6 landmark cases on gender equality before the United States Supreme Court. She then she became the second female Supreme Court justice in the country's history. There are 9 justices on the Supreme Court. If I'm asked, when will there be enough women on the Supreme Court? I say, when there are 9. People are shocked, but there have been 9 men, like forever, and nobody's ever raised their eyebrows at that. Even in her 80s, Ruth does 20 push-ups every day and has become a style icon, thanks to the extravagant collars she wears in court with her judge's robes. She's a really neat lady. One more for today, and I'll finish with another pirate story. This one is about Grace O'Malley. She was a pirate out of Ireland. She has red hair too, just like the other one. Once upon a time, on a wild green island, lived a girl with long ginger hair. Her name was Grace. When the wind howled and waves crashed against the rocks, Grace would stand on the clifftop and dream of sailing out across the stormy seas. "Girls can't be sailors," her father told her, "and anyway, your long red hair would get tangled in the rigging." Grace didn't like this one bit. She cut her hair short and dressed in boys' clothes to prove to her family that she could live the life of the sea. Finally, one day, her father agreed to take her sailing on one condition. "If we meet a pirate ship, hide below deck," he said. But when they were attacked, Grace leapt off the rigging and landed on one of the pirates' backs. Her surprise attack worked, and they beat the pirates off. Grace was a fine sailor, and she wanted to do something more exciting than catching fish. When the English attacked her castle, she became a pirate herself rather than submit to the English rule. Grace was so successful that soon she had her own fleet of ships as well as several islands and castles along the west coast of Ireland. When the English captured her sons, Grace sailed to meet the Queen of England, Elizabeth I, to try and save them. To everyone's surprise, the Queen and Grace became friends. The Queen returned her sons and possessions, and Grace helped her fight against England's enemies, the Spanish. Well, that's all of the stories I'm going to read for you today. I hope this video is finding everybody happy and healthy, and I hope that you're staying strong and have lots of positive things going on. I hope that you're all exercising and getting outside, still staying away from people. But I hope that you can all enjoy the time that you have with your families, and hopefully we get to see our friends real soon. Thanks, kids.